Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Hello, how are you? Okay, I'm going to give it just a few minutes because I am going to be time stamping this video. So we'll see if anyone pops on. This is brand new. If not, I'm going to talk to y'all anyway. I'm going to do readings for the collective today, and it'll be on the replay so you can catch whenever you see it. Hello, hello. I saw someone popped on. If you're able to drop a note in the chat that you can hear me, that would be amazing. I would appreciate it. Is the chat working? Because it looks, I don't know, the chat looks like it's clocking to me. So if you're able, let me know if you're able to pop in the chat. And sometimes it does this. When I schedule YouTube, I'm going to check on my other device here. Because sometimes when I schedule earlier on YouTube, it likes to clock the chat on my computer for some reason. So let me pull it up and see if I can see the live. Okay, I can see it. I will just read the chat from my phone. Let me get a stand for this. I have a stand. I'll be right back. Okay. Technical fun stuff. Hello, hello. Okay, so let me see if I can. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so I am talking to you through my MacBook, and I am going to read the comments on my phone because for some reason, when I schedule these early and I post them so people can get the notifications, the chat likes to clock, and I don't know why, but I'm glad you can hear me. Hello, hello. We are going to timestamp this as the intro here. I'm so excited. I've not done timestamps before. Oh my gosh, my first time. But I know they're really helpful on videos, right? On lives and things, so that when you're watching the replay, or if you heard something you like, you want to listen to again, you can go back to that section rather than, constantly just try to hit forward. So I hope everybody's doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining from. And happy Friday. I'm so excited to offer these Frequency Fridays. Some of you may know, if you're a subscriber already, that I do live. I do an hour of live Q&A where you can come on and ask a personal question in the chat every other Sunday. So be sure to check that out. That's just on Sunday evenings, and it's from 7 to 8 p.m. Central. Today, we're going to focus more on the collective. This is casual. You're welcome to put messages in the chat. You're welcome to share anything you'd like to share. You're welcome to comment, but I will not be answering personal questions. So I just wanted to clarify that for today. We're really going to be looking into the collective, and this is meant to be fun and casual and keeping things light and keeping them interesting and giving you a chance to get to know me a little bit more as well, and me to know you, the audience, and what you like. So the chat and the emojis in the chat are all really helpful to help me understand what you like. So please use those. So let me get a sip of tea. Made some tea today. I got Grogu on here. Isn't he cute? He's such a cutie. Blazer the Morkie is right here. He's on a nice silk pillow right behind me. So he might make some noise at some point, but a lot of you have seen him probably in my videos before. And once in a while, he'll put on like a dramatic kind of performance. But right now, he's just sleeping and being cuddly. So, okay. So today, I really want to have just a relaxed time with this. I thought we could pull a card and kind of do overall energy for the collective, and then I might break it up into some categories. And so we'll see. I'm going to start talking because I want to share a couple things. I had done a women's webinar this last this last Monday and the 30th, and it was called Hack the Lack. And we went through working with the Empress archetype in the tarot. So it was a group of women together working on embodying their own inner Empress. And we did that. And then we worked through my powerful closure process that I am trained in and that I love to utilize for myself and my clients. And we were really targeting a limiting belief around lack and attracting abundance, right? And what was blocking us. And it was very interesting how there were themes between the women of, I got this impression about people who have money. I have this judgment, I have that, I have, that it's not safe, or it's you're bad, or you're greedy, or all the list of things that we learn from different people. And I'll mention also that the people who are showing up here, y'all are very much aware. People who are attracted to my channel have an awareness level around the way the world is designed, right? And the injustices in the world, and knowing that things aren't good for everybody can be a really tough pill to swallow, and a really challenging thing when you're a healthy and compassionate person, and you care, and you want everyone to have the highest and best opportunities. So we live in this world that oftentimes does not feel ideal, right? And so we're dealing with these limiting beliefs about ourselves and about our capabilities as individual souls. And we're dealing with what's going on in the world, right? And how it's structured and what's on offer. And a lot of us have dreamed and imagined and are in the midst of creating a better path forward, a better world. And one of the really neat things that I heard lately was that, and you can use whatever terms you want. So when you're listening, to someone, whether it be me or anyone on YouTube, try not to get too attached to the person or their personality. Really try to listen to the message, and also use your intuition to, like, if I say a word that triggers you, think of the word that doesn't trigger you. Okay. So I had heard someone, because this word has triggered me before. And he was describing how there he goes, when we're manifesting, he just pulled out boy, is this a sign? He just pulled out my computer charger, so I had to fix that. Thank you. First interruption of the day from Blaze. When we're manifesting, he had shared that you want to consider that you are laying your prayers out in front of you. Okay, so prayer used to be a trigger word for me. Now I understand everybody kind of attaches a different meaning to it. I might say lay your intentions, or lay the highest and best vision, right, of what you want on the path forward. And then you're connecting to that energy, and then you have no choice, but as you walk each step, you begin to manifest, or you come up upon the creations and the beautiful intentions and the beautiful prayers, if that's your word, that you have set forth. And I thought that was really cool. And I've also been really working on connecting with, in my own manifestations, in my own personal manifestations, that aspect of me who already has what she desires, right? And not that it's an endpoint, or not that I have any less value, because right now I don't, all the things that I desire haven't fully manifest, but that it's a journey, right? And there's also this element of time, right? That we're all dealing with. We're all navigating the temporal field, which is tricky enough in itself. And if any of you have ever, if you're comfortable sharing, have any of you ever felt what you would consider to be like a timeline shift, or where you've kind of phased out of time, or like you wake up one day and then all of a sudden it's nighttime and you're like, you did all these things, but how that gap was bridged just seems very strange, right? So if you're comfortable, let's hear it in the chat. Happy Friday, Jen. Happy Friday. But yeah, if you've done any kind of timeline, awareness practices, or worked with your timeline at all in hypnosis or through subconscious patterning, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And so, yeah, lack and releasing the limiting beliefs has been a big thing for a lot of people, and maybe yes, it's the turn of the Gregorian calendar, right? But it's not the only calendar. It's not the only way to look at time. It definitely isn't the only part of our past that's worth looking at, right? And learning about, right? So this is about expanding the mind and heart into new places. And I think when you're working with timelines, you do have to have some of that expansion where you're reaching out into the temporal field, and not being so bound necessarily to a clock or to the timing. Yes, we have to do that because we're interacting in the physical world, just like I'm making note of time today. I'm using time stamps, but that we can shift, and we can actually shift timelines. We can actually experiment with the temporal world and our relationship to it, and the timelines that we're manifesting. So as we put our prayers and intentions out there in front of us, if we shift paths, or if we go off or organically intended path, we could end up, in a little cul-de-sac, or get caught up in a little bit of stagnation, right? So these are all things we can work with energetically, which are really interesting to do. So let's go ahead and let's get started into some collective messages. Why don't we? And I may share more stories as we go. And if you want to comment, you want to engage, I would love to see what you all have to say, or how you're feeling today, where you're coming from. We're here in the Midwest. I'm in Kansas City. They are hyping up the first big snowstorm of the season, and it's supposed to hit this weekend, and it might not be what they're saying it's going to be, right? And so there's all this energy built up around that. So it's quite interesting. But let's go with the overall energy of the collective and do our overall collective messages. And then we might break it up into some little individual type messages. So I have here, this is only the major arcana of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. This one is the giant version. And even though I have little hands and it's kind of hard to shuffle, I really like using it because of the big pictures. And I found that this one's a really good one to learn from if you're trying to learn tarot. Rider-Waite-Smith is the way to go. Okay. So we're just going to get like the overall major energies for the collective here during this time, and what we're supposed to be learning. Ooh la la. Well, this seems fitting. The Tower. And it's okay. So I have to tell this story now, because this card came up, and even some close friends of mine have been having these moments, right? And it has to do with lack and abundance. So I guess that's the direction we're going to kind of roll today. We both had what one of my friends and I will say, both had what's called lack triggers. And I'm not going to share his story, but let me share mine. So on the side to, make a little extra money, Christmas presents, all that stuff, I DoorDash. And it's kind of like a little side hustle gig, right? And I started off my day, this was on Tuesday, I believe. I started off, I come off of that awesome webinar with the women, and I was rolling in that energy and feeling good. The webinar worked on me too, even though I was facilitating it. And here's how it played out. So I start out, I get my first order of the day, and I'm like, okay, it's like one item. It's like a coffee grinder from Target. I'm familiar with coffee grinders. I know where they're located in the store. Yes, yes, Target is dangerous. And I was like, okay, this is simple. I'll go get this coffee grinder and deliver it to this person. And it's the cost per mileage was good. And I'm like, okay, here I go. And I get to the store, and there's the picture of the coffee grinder in the DoorDash app. And I ask a lady, she helps me like look because I didn't see it right off the bat. And there was somebody there, and she was really nice. And she's like, let me look it up. They have these little things they carry around, these little mobile devices where they can check the inventory. And she's like, well, it says we have them, but my picture is different. And the DoorDash did not have the right picture on the app. And so, what looked to be like a commercial size coffee grinder actually was scanning as this little bitty, personal coffee grinder for somebody who's making like, just one pot of coffee at home, right? Not one with the big funnel that you put the beans in, right? And so I'm like, well, I don't know if this is what the customer really expects because of the picture. So I messaged the customer in the chat, and sometimes customers don't answer. And when you're a dasher, time is money, right? You're trying to make the most of your time. And I tried to message him, it was kind of crickets. And so finally, I'm just going to call him. And it sounded like in the background, he was like a busy chef or whatever, right? Doing stuff, probably needed a coffee grinder, probably the one that looked more commercial because he's at a restaurant or something like that, preparing food and coffee and things. And I explained the situation. He's like, oh, yeah, there was another dasher that went to a different store to try to find it, and they didn't have it. And he's like, they were supposed to cancel the order. And I didn't know. I mean, you can tell the customer to cancel an order, but I have had no problem in the past just offering good customer service and saying, you know what, I'll contact DoorDash. I'll have this canceled. I'll also inform them that they have the wrong picture attached to this SKU, try to do the right thing here, trying to make sure another dasher doesn't get screwed by having to waste their time in there. And also, I was going to see if they'd offer me half pay for the time spent trying to work out the situation because that's something they used to do. I don't know if they're still doing it, right? You know how they kind of change their ways sometimes. So I was like I got him on the phone. As I'm even just walking out of the store, I'm still on the customer's order. I'm calling DoorDash, and I'm getting the hold music, and I get to my car and I'm waiting, and it's like 5, 7 minutes. It's never taken them this long to answer on support. I open up a chat, and I'm also texting my partner who dashes, and I'm like trying to explain the situation. I'm getting more and more worked up. I'm getting more and more frantic. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? What do I, why aren't they answering? What do I do? It gives me the invitation to unassign, but it'll lower my acceptance rate and or affect, my orders. And I didn't want that. And then so I open up the chat, and then it's like offering me to unassign it with no penalty, but it's not offering me like half pay or, to talk to anyone to try to rectify the situation. It's not connecting me with anyone. So I think all in all, I spent about 30 minutes trying to correctly resolve the situation before I finally like got so stressed out and upset about it that I did unassign it without a penalty. I took screenshots of everything, like, frantically, like, oh, I'm going to show them. I'll email their customer service. And I'm, really like just sitting in my car, and I finally am just like, fine, it's not worth sitting here anymore to try to help them correct the situation. At this point, I'm just wasting my own time, right? And time is money, and time is valuable. Not just time is money, but time is valuable. And we're going to talk about that too. I think that's how we're going to go with our little breakout readings today. But you're giving your energy, right? You're either giving your energy with money or time, resources, right? And so finally I did that, and I start driving back, and I end up getting another order, and the order shows it's like $6 including tips, right? But it's really close. It's like kind of heading back toward where I wanted to be, closer to where I live. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna just take this one and go. And I delivered, I think, some pizza and wings to somebody. I do feel bad delivering junk food to people, but people still really like their junk food. And who am I to judge? I know everybody has that journey, right? So I so I delivered it, and when I completed the order, it actually ended up being $9. So instead of 6, I got 9, which was really interesting, right? It was like, "Oh, well, there's a little bonus in there." And I was still feeling a lot of anxiety from what I had been dealing with and whatnot, and so I'm in my car, and I'm driving toward my home on roads that I'm very familiar with, and I'm just in my car by myself, and I just screamed, like the loudest, blood-curdling, window shattering scream until my throat was like, I cannot scream anymore. I just let it all out. I let out all the stress, all the anxiety, everything I'd been dealing with. Let it all out. And at that moment, like, something shifted. So I'm on the very familiar roads that I've always been on, but something is different. I was explaining it to my friends, like, I think it was I think I shifted my timeline, or I shifted back onto my organic timeline or something like that, because everything went different. And I was disoriented for a moment, and the timbre, Timbre, was it just my perception of where I was and what I was trying to figure out was all different. And so I had to like talk myself, I'm on this road, and if I turn right here, then Jackson Avenue is there, and then I can go that way. And even when I was, doing that, I was still like looking at the roads, and they looked different. The colors felt different around me. So I don't know if any of you have ever had like these big kind of releases like that, and you feel like immediately you have a shift. There was a lot that built up to that. I would have preferred not to get my body in such a stressful state, right? But anyway, it was one of these moments where the anxiety and the stress, and especially having to do with, I was trying to do what was right and I couldn't do it. Trying to navigate the world, and you're trying to do what's right and what's aligned, and you can't do it. That's a helpless feeling, right? Like you're free falling and you have nothing to grab onto here. So it's very interesting. This is the collective message coming up. I have a feeling more than one of you who may be listening has had a moment like this. Now I got my nervous system reset. Like, to close off the story, I did a special breathing technique. I did some tapping to bring myself back. And I there's a whole other part to the story that is beautiful. The way my dash ended in the day, I was, humbled. The very last order I got, I have to tell, because it kind of heals up the whole situation. The very last order I got was for 5 guys, burger and fries. And somebody wanted burger, fries, and a lemonade. And I get there and I walk in, and they're like, "Oh, you have Ray's order." Well, Ray is a regular. He always calls ahead and says to remind the dasher that brings his order that he has no legs, and he really appreciates you bringing the order inside his house, right? And I did. And I was like, "Okay, thank you." And I'm like, I immediately started getting this feeling and this preparation of, like, cuz there was a great tip on the order already, okay? And I'm like, he tipped really nice, cuz he knows he's asking people to come into his house and deliver to him, and he's in that situation. And it was really really hard to see how he was living. But there was a good spirit behind him. And I was envisioning that I would thank him for his generosity, wish him a happy new year, make sure he had everything he needed, ask him if he needed me to do anything else, that kind of thing. And really, my heart was opening, my heart was opening, because I'd done the reset, I'd done the healing from the earlier anxiety of the day. And he was very kind and very generous. Like, he'd already tipped on the app, and he's like, "I know I gave you a good tip, but," and he handed me a cash tip. And it really, like, one of those moments where I felt like, okay, I finally landed, and I finally can get grounded. And I'm humbled and I'm touched by this person who can't walk, can't get around. I'm having all these feelings of I'm grateful for my mobility, and I'm grateful for, I even get a little choked up talking about it now because here I was stressing out about this other situation earlier, and the humanity in the situation just came flooding in when I delivered to Ray. And so it was a big learning for me, a big lesson and a beautiful thing. And he was so generous. I think I might have driven 5 miles and made like $25 in tips from him. That was incredibly generous. Some people don't even tip at all, you know, and it's just it's just one of those things that sends you back to gratitude and authenticity and an open heart and the humanness in us, and so I left there and it was really close to my scheduled shift ending, and I'm like, that's my last order of the day, and I ended my dash and I cried the entire way home out of like joy and gratitude, and the rest of the pain came out and everything just kind of, and I got home and finally got back to Blaze, and I think Blaze and I might have gone on a nice long walk that day to kind of ground in those beautiful energies. But yeah, so when you have these moments, so let's bring it back to the collective. When we have these moments where seemingly out of nowhere something happens, right? And you weren't expecting it. You're trying to start your day good and something comes and interrupts it. I'll just share that one of my friends just had his dog chew up his brand new electric blanket. A really nice one, okay? And if you're out there, there's a little shout out to you. But it's like, you're trying, and he was trying to relax. He was trying to, taking a bath, the two toys are all out there, and the dog chose to eat the wiring in the electric blanket. Thankfully, it wasn't plugged in, or probably would have been deterred really fast. But it's those moments, right? Ah, I'm about to lose it. And sometimes we have to have this journey where everything breaks down in order for us to ground back in and come up all the stronger and all the more filled with gratitude and all the more filled with compassion and all the more filled with the things that connect us in humanity. So no matter how bad the storm gets, no matter how hard the tower crashes, the human spirit is incredibly resilient. And so maybe that story today will help inspire some of you. Jen says, I'll be doing DoorDash and I'll be carrying this story in the day with me. I love that. Yeah, I'm glad I got to share that. I had a feeling I would be sharing it because it was very potent and powerful. And I know more than one of us has that. So, but we're going to have a little fun with the collective messages now. Let's roll with this tower, okay? And there's all kinds of stuff out there about 2025, and there's cyber trucks blowing up, there's planes, all the stuff, right? Deep breath, okay, because we're here, we're grounded. We have a sacred agreement with the planet to be here at this time. And so let's get into the highest and best messages, the lessons that we can learn from those tower moments, no matter how, no matter their magnitude, okay, whatever the magnitude of these moments are. So let's hit up the Wizard's Tarot here. Cool deck. I will link the decks below. Well, I won't link them, but I'll mention them. If you have more interest, you can always email me about it. But this one I love. It's one of my easier shuffle go-tos. So let's see. Let's clarify the tower. Let's get a couple messages, few more. Ooh, one just kind of slid out. One kind of slid out. And we'll go with that one and this one here. Okay, so we got the King of Wands and the Strength card. Wow. So when there's this tower and we kind of are in it, right? How do we find the mastery of the transformation? What are your tools? And I think the collective's being challenged right now here with really understanding what are your tools of transformation? How are you connected to the alchemy of fire? Because wands is connected to fire and the king is about mastery. So this is a reminder to us all on the path, doing our path work, evolving our soul, right? Growing and learning is that what are your tools? How do you use the wand, right? And in this particular picture, he is holding his wand, but it is at rest. Sorry, it's this way. I go the wrong way because it's the mirror image. It's right over here. No, here and toward my fingers. It's so hard for me to point backwards, but he's holding it kind of down, right? So this means he currently is not in an active. We've had enough action here. So he's in a more passive energy. This is the taming of the ego. This is the a humble position for this king. This is sitting down and reflecting, right? So sometimes we need this moment of reflection. Sometimes we need this moment to cool the hotness of the situation, to let that roaring fire calm down into some embers. And we need to be in nature. We need to be connected. We need to be, y'all conspiracy theorists know about this black and white pattern. See that underneath his feet? Standing in a world of illusion, standing in a world that is, maybe at times backwards and inverted, right? And knowing that that's not our true energy, that is energy that is beneath us, right? Our greater beings long for expansion, and they long for something greater than the illusionary world that's being presented. But look here, we have nature. We have nature. We can bring our focus back to nature, natural law, cosmic law, and get more aligned. And this is calming the ego. This is the mastery of transformation, of transforming through these very shocking kind of moments and events that we might have in our life. And the other card we got another major arcana card, the strength card. And I actually love this depiction of the strength card from the Wizard's Tarot. Hi, Essence. Happy Friday to you. I love this depiction because this card there is a taming energy. So remember, I said I kind of got the taming of the ego with the king and the mastery of that, but also we have the taming of the consciousness, right? And extracting the wisdom. So she's working some magic here with this dragon. Dragons to me are representations of our conscious mind, and including the subconscious, including the unconscious, the wholeness of that. And so there is this interaction here, this conversation, this taming of the wildness of our consciousness going on, and strength. Also, in most of the traditional decks, like in the Rider Waite, this would be a lion she is interacting with. So this could be connected to Leo energy, more fire energy, right? So fire and transformation coming up. Also, there could be some relationship or more potency if you're looking at the different fire sign energies in your chart: Leo, Aries, Saggy. Okay. So we've got some really, really beautiful depictions here of what to remember. And let's just go also with the general message of staying strong and what actually builds our strength, what actually builds our resilience. When we get in these moments where everything seems like it's crashing down and we get triggered out into maybe those limiting beliefs of lack and injustices, too, that's also coming up here for the collective. How do we remain strong? We have to have good practices for clearing our consciousness and for allowing our subconscious, unconscious patterns to rise, and then have a way for dealing with those that's very aligned with our natural selves. So that would be something, the collective could benefit from, right? And remember, you're part of the collective. You who are hearing this message, when I am quote unquote, I use this word with a grain of salt, channeling these messages, I'm connecting in with, first of all, my greater being. So the parts of me that are my soul that expand beyond and connect in with your greater being. So I'm connecting in with your greater being energy, whether you're here live or on the replay. And I'm connecting with the higher force, creator source, the greatness, expansiveness of the universe, whatever label you want to put on it. That's how I prefer to say it. The natural prime creator of the universe, right? And those are the energies from which I'm receiving the messages. I'm not talking to the Pleiadians. I'm not talking to a future version of myself. I'm talking to the multidimensional aspect of myself and yourselves, right? So from that perspective, that could be added in there. But I want to clarify, I'm not, that's why I don't say, for me as a reader, I don't say spirit is telling me, because it really is the greater being. So there is a little bit of a distinction there when I do these readings here. So I want to kind of go into these messages a little bit deeper. I want to pull a clarifier for this king and transformation. And the taming of the ego. So for those of you who maybe recently you have an idea or a situation where you were triggered, right? And you did get triggered, and you know, the tower fell or whatever and came crashing down. And knowing, how did you get yourself back to this place? What are some messages that the collective could benefit from regarding the taming of the ego? Now, I'm a big believer that our ego is a natural part of us. It should be involved, but it should not take over, right? And so there has to be this ability to check that ego and say, thank you for trying to protect me, ego. I know what you're trying to do. And there have been times in my life where you have really protected me, and I appreciate it. But right now, big Stephanie, or the big greater being of myself, is going to take over here, right? All right. Ooh, and wait, a lot of masculine energy here. A lot of masculine. We got the king. And then we have another king, the King of Pentacles, depicted as the alpha of hunters in this particular Wild Wolf deck. I love this deck. Discipline, right? This is a practice. This is a discipline to get the king in the position where he doesn't always have to be on fire, where he doesn't always have to be in the fight. Takes discipline. The King of Pentacles in the traditional tarot, he's even going to be more relaxed. He's even going to be less likely to get pulled out on the triggers of the tower. Okay. And we can all learn from this energy of the King of Pentacles to bring in that earthly, connected to the element of earth, to bring in that grounded aspect there. And then we got the Emperor, masculine structure. Now, when it comes to looking at the feminine and masculine, we all have the positive and negative charge, the yin yang, right? We're all dealing with that. This is talking about when we're working on taming the ego. The ego is showing itself to be more naturally connected into the masculine energies. And so that's why they're coming up to help. The Emperor can be very egoic in the inverted sense, right? In the inversion or inverted form of the Emperor, he can be very egoic. But on the flip side of that, he is like the even higher mastery than the King of Wands. So if the King of Wands were a major arcana card, he becomes the Emperor. And this is about bringing stability and structure to yourself. It's about being disciplined enough to know what tools you need to use when the towers come down and you are triggered, especially in the moments when you're triggered and you're getting triggered into those energies of lack. And this is about having a plan, having some sort of structure, and having some sort of discipline toward recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm anxious. I'm pulled off my center here. I've been drawn out into something. I'm triggered, right? And pulling yourself back into center. Okay, so there's what to do with the taming of the ego. It's important for us to have a discipline, a method, a structure in place for how to get ourselves reset back into the more calm and relaxed and grounded energy of the King of Pentacles, right? Because when those energies pop off, it's a lot. And so sometimes it's going to take that more active masculine energy to reset that, right? And that's okay. We navigate this world navigating both the masculine and feminine energies. For women, this is a whole lot of masculine energy, and I get that. I get that. But this is about mastery of that aspect of ourselves, right? And about how we're active and how we're acting. And so that's very cool. Okay. So let's get into this strength card. Let's talk about let's find out for the collective what are the best messages that we can get for bridging that gap between our conscious and subconscious minds so that we can become more naturally aware of our triggers, maybe even before they happen, right? And if we're aware of them before they happen, we can quickly do something, take an action that has been shown in the masculine here to reset ourselves. So let's talk about for the collective bridging the conscious subconscious realms, right? Because a lot of our fears and limiting beliefs are buried deep in that subconscious. So, very interesting. We're getting a lot of mastery energy this morning. So, I have a feeling a lot of you may be working on mastery of yourself in some way, shape, or form, or it's blended into your intentions and goal setting. So, remember, we have this strength card with the dragon, and we get the King of Swords, the intellectual, right? So, understanding that there's intelligence and wisdom, of course, in your conscious mind, and that's what you're operating with most of the time, but also understanding the intelligence and wisdom that's in the subconscious. And that the things that come up from the subconscious, unconscious realms, the things we picked up as children, the things that are part of our bloodlines, our ancestry, the things that need to be cleared out, um, offer their own kind of intelligence, right? And they can sometimes, if we're not in a good place, if we're not using our tools, we're not using the alchemy, we can act out quite sharply. And that would be the inverted energy of the King of Swords. It would be to just like I'm done. Like me after I had the first order that was kind of hard, I would have just I'm done with DoorDash for today. I'm not even going to try. Then I would have never had that lovely experience with that client, and that generosity and that release, right? I would have never had that. And so the King of Swords, this is when you're using your sword appropriately, you're cutting through the illusions, you're cutting through the BS, and you're getting to the heart of the matter. And believe me, as you do this on an individual level, it affects the collective. Because remember, we're putting our intentions, we're putting our prayers, we're putting the highest and best and the desire of where we want to be on the path forward, right? So, of course, our greater beings are going to go, "Oh, good job, Stephanie. That's awesome." And guess what? We're going to throw you this curveball because you got a little something buried in there that you need to release, that needs to be let go. And and we want you to come back to your center, grounded, generous, connected place with humanity to move forward on this path so that you can collect the gold that's waiting for you. And that's what the message of the King of Swords has to do. Also, get a bit of that, pay attention to your dreams, because that's where a lot of some subconscious fears will come to light in your dreams. And they can be heavy with symbolism at times. So maybe in your dream time, that's when you should be like really paying attention and maybe taking some notes, even if you just wake up and voice record yourself. Because I know as you go on, sometimes the dream memories dissipate. But if you can voice record yourself, especially for dreams that seem significant to you. The other card we got here was the Two of Cups, and it says attraction. So we have the attractive force coming up here as we maintain our strength, as we bridge the gap between our conscious and subconscious, and we allow some of these patterns that need to be released to come up and out, to be transformed in that dragon fire, cut through by the beautiful sword of knowledge and wisdom of our greater being. We open up the door for love and attraction. Now, this could be with partnership. Obviously, we got these two wolves here cuddling, right? Certainly, when we release patterns and triggers that no longer serve us, we're going to open up into these energies of attracting in more loving experiences, correct? But it doesn't have to be just romantic love. This can be partnership in business. It can be partnership in friendship. It can be healing things with our family members. Some of you may find that as you like go through these triggers and you work on getting yourself back to 0 point and grounded again, you may be finding that all of a sudden someone contacts you, or all of a sudden someone comes into your awareness field and you're being asked to pay attention to that. You've attracted in that person now after your tower experience for a reason. Okay, and that those reasons could vary. Let's look into this attraction thing a little bit more. I want to clarify that even further. I'm going to get a couple cards from the Radiant Rider Waite, and these are a little smaller cards. They're so cute. My son got them for me for Christmas. But let's get into that Two of Cups, that attraction. Okay, and if you guys have if you have anything you want to share in the comments, the more you engage, the more it kind of makes this more of a community and shifts us into the energies that your greater beings are curious about, if I haven't picked up on them already. So if there's anything you want to put there, I appreciate the engagement. Okay, so for the attraction here, we got two clarifiers. There goes Blaze again. He's letting us know. Thank you. We know somebody's probably out there walking by. We got the Page of Swords, right? This could have been representing somebody's energy watching you or tuning into you energetically somehow. And then once you kind of get into this attractive phase, all of a sudden they can come in and find you. Feels new, feels youthful, feels fresh. So this is really interesting. Some of you, as you do your path work, may be attracting in. Some of you might be attracting in a Scorpio. We got Scorpio energy here. Or this is just another confirmation of how important the transformation from these tower moments really are. The Death card is not necessarily a card of physical death, but maybe this is, and I wouldn't say, because I don't like killing the ego. I think the ego is a part of us, but you have those little ego checks, those little parts of the ego that do have to get tamed, that do have to quote unquote die, right? And it's also very interesting that every night when we go to sleep and our conscious mind turns off, that is a death. That's a death of all the knowledge and wisdom that we've gained to that point, and our subconscious kicks in. And then the next morning when we wake up, our conscious mind brings us into a new cycle, but it's through this process. So really some neat energies coming up here. Subconscious, unconscious patterns, triggers, lack, and all of that good stuff. And I think I forgot to actually, did I forget to do a timestamp? I don't know. This is my first time doing that. I'm trying to write things down. Aria's here. Hi, Aria. It's always a high frequency moment to connect your creations. Thank you for the multi-layer coding in them. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you for showing up and allowing your greater being to be a voice in this lovely harmony and melody that we're creating together. Oh, I'm glad you can tune in live. Yes, because of the time zones. Yeah. Yeah, because Sunday nights, a lot of people are in bed when I do the Sunday night, readings, live readings. So I'm glad you could tune in now. Okay, let me get these cards back in because we're going to go into some different subcategories here. And I think it's going to be to do with lack. I think we're going to do lack. That's what's feeling right. Like lack and lack triggers. It's a good one for, this time of year. This is, we're coming out of the winter solstice, so we can really have a little more time to go within as the days grow longer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know if I have any Australians or New Zealanders with us, but you would apply it to that time of year for yourself. Okay, so I think I want to do a couple categories, readings for a couple different categories. We'll do um, lack regarding wealth and abundance. So you're trying to call in money and resources, right? That would be the first one. We'll do that first. And then I know for some people, it's lack of time. Like you're so caught up doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G that you feel like you never have the free time to get in a more creative space or to do the things or just to have a moment, just to be with yourself and breathe. So we'll do the lack of time and then we'll do lack of, and this will be the last one, be love and relationships. So you may feel called to one or more of those. Whew. When I said that love and relationships, I started to get choked up. That's triggering for some people. Some people have a really hard time being alone, or they lack the healthy relationships in life that they want to manifest. So we're going to do kind of these breakout categories. And again, I'm going to timestamp these so that everybody can come back um, and get them and get those. So here we are at 52. We're going to start in and get some messages for the collective. For those of you who are really working on manifesting, and you're working on calling in wealth through abundance of resources. Now that could mean like money, a new job, things like that. So we're going to go with that because that's how we're interacting in the world right now, right? Is through those portals. And I'm gonna kind of go backwards here. We're going to use this little radiant deck here first. So the highest and best messages for those that are working on manifesting money and resources. And, of course, we're probably going to touch on some of the limiting beliefs that like to sneak up out, but that's what these are for. You need all three, Essence. That's kind of how I feel. All three, please. Arya says, yes, you are usually in the middle of the night. Yes, in Europe. Yeah, that's why I did want to do something different a little bit earlier so I could catch some of my people out in Europe there. Oh boy, we're having some definitely some themes that already came up from the collective message here. I have to get a sip of tea here. So I want to say first, kind of what I'm seeing in these cards is that for those of you who are working on manifesting money and resources, it is so, so important for you to get stabilized. And here's this Emperor coming up again in the aligned action. And I'm talking to myself here too, in the aligned action that is going to call in this wealth and abundance for you. The Emperor, though seated, this is connected to the energy of Aries. For those of you who have Aries in your chart, this could be a little extra icing on top for you. He's a very active character. And perhaps also we could view him as being seated in the position where we want to be seated eventually once the abundance has come to us. A number 4 card here. This is about structure and stability. So some of us could really be walking away from, we got the 8 of Cups here, the limiting ideas and beliefs that really trigger our emotions around money and finances. So this is all of those stories that we picked up from our parents, that we picked up from society about money, wealth, and having resources. How are people using them? We don't get a lot of good examples, do we? About wealthy people really sharing and doing what's right. And there's that tendency to think that that's what it's all about. I want to take this a little bit deeper, and I want to take it a little bit more into the energetics and say, over time, people have had all different kinds of ways of bartering and interacting. And, it used to be like gold and silver, like the actual material itself. And then that got hoarded. And then, then we have our fiat fake currency. We have crypto, virtual stuff going on now. There's different face to the energy, right? But first we have to we have to understand or learn that we're deserving of the wealth and abundance. And we have to be able to trust ourselves to stay strong and steady and stable in the energies once we receive it. We're going to eliminate any limiting beliefs that we have around um, us being a bad person because we have money. Okay. A lot of us have that story. Rich people are greedy. Rich people do this, that, the other. You really have to get real with yourself on this about what you will do. Because, yes, the emperor is about responsibility as well, accountability and responsibility. So, as you release these limiting beliefs and as things start flowing into you, money and resources start flowing into you, how are you going to navigate that, right? And then we got the Two of Cups again because this came up in the collective message with a different deck, right? This to me doesn't necessarily feel like partnership outside of yourself when it comes to money and abundance. I'm not necessarily getting this as a message of like you need to join in partnership with somebody. That could be the case for a few of you, but the bigger energy that I'm feeling behind this card has to do with how you partner with yourself, what your dialogue is with yourself. So, a couple aspects here are getting really structured and stable around what calls to our heart. How how can we exchange with ourselves right now in this moment to the level that we add this structure into instability, that we are good with releasing the limiting beliefs that no longer serve us, and how can we expand into this energy very specifically from the heart space. All right, so this means alignment with what you came here to do, alignment with your purpose, how you came here to show up, and that being something that you feel in your heart, not necessarily that you understand in your mind. I know there's a lot in the manifestation realm, in the entrepreneurial realm, where we're going to get really clear, and we're going to make lists, and we're going to set all that stuff. And yes, all that's a part of it, but is your heart in it? And if your heart's not in it, can you hire it out? Can you outsource it? Can you ask a friend for help, right? But this is really about getting a healthier dialogue with yourself about it and partnering up with yourself, building yourself up, offering yourself this lovely exchange. And certainly that could manifest as you drawing in some sort of helpful, like business partner or some sort of coach. I know some of you might be out there working with some awesome coaches because I've met some of you through things like that. And we are really working on those limiting beliefs. We are really in this process, right? Aria says, on the subject of ego, the algorithms of Facebook were targeting my ego this morning with what they were choosing to show me when I was not deciding to scroll. I know. Isn't that wild? You can kind of, that's another thing. right? You could kind of test it in partnership with yourself. Do these little tests. She decided not to scroll and something tried to come out and get her. This is energetics at work, right? But just checking your messages at the top of the feed. The first post is that one you can't escape. Yes, they'll put it right up there at the top. That's when I was remembering an ego delaying episode facilitated by a mind altering substance. Yes. Yes, this will bring these things up. And the matrix, yeah, targeting using ego structures and patterns. That's wild. And see, that's the inverted energy of this emperor coming up too. That's a great point because if you imagine this guy in inverted energy here, that's the that is it. That is where the ego is in charge, the ego is running the show. It's not alignment and partnership with self from the heart. It will pull you off your center if you let it. I mean, you're the one letting it, right? So we all have to take that responsibility and accountability. We have to make sure our circle is sound, right? But you can, once you have the awareness, you could start to catch these things. That's what Aria is talking about. You see it ahead. You're like, oh, mm-hmm, I know what you're trying to do, right? And the algorithms, it's wild, but we're the algorithms. That's what's cool is it's like we can teach ourselves that way, right? As well. We have power there as well. We have our own inner algorithms. So this is but being able to catch those energies floating around out there, right? Because remember, we're in a collective experience. We're in a universe of contrasting expressions. So, there's going to be times where you're calling it in for your own lesson. There's going to be other times where it's just around, right? But you can utilize it. You can say, oh, how interesting. I had the intention not to be scrolling and something that would hook me jumps up to the very top, right? And that's where we can really work with these energies, right? And when we're talking about calling in money in abundance and we get in this inverted energy, right? That is the limiting belief. That is greed. That is misappropriation of resources. That is getting that money and then blowing it all, right? It's that kind of like the people who win the lottery who aren't energetically, emotionally prepared to handle that kind of energy, right? So the messages here around money is that we're getting really into alignment with attracting from the heart. We're not doing it the way that's on offer here. You can, I mean, be my guest, but you're just going to go into that inverted energy, right? Free will, you go ahead and do what but you're probably going to hit that. But if you really take the time to align yourself and get stable with what's in your heart, the alignment with your purpose, what you came here to do, some of you have amazing voices, amazing ways of orating and explaining and speaking, right? Some of you that are listening now have done or can do exactly what I'm doing, maybe not tarot focused, but in your own way. And it's showing up first in partnership with yourself. You have to be willing to have your own back in this, right? So that when those resources come in, that these cups can stay full, right? So this is really interesting. I want to actually clarify on this card, this Two of Cups, because I'm really interested in that partnership with ourself. Certainly, there are lessons in not having the negative self-talk and really being able to catch that. And but then it's another thing to really like, and I mean embody having your own back. Okay. And so as you're working on manifesting this wealth and abundance, how are you going to have your own back? That may be through a combination of things. It's probably connected to making sure that you are coming from the heart, and there may be times where you have to slow things down a little so you can kind of feel into where you're at with it, right? Yeah, a lot of heart energy coming up here. A lot of heart energy. Yeah. And boundaries. Yep. Okay. This is really cool. I really like this. Okay, so remember, we're talking about being aligned in our heart. We're talking about being in partnership with ourselves. We're talking about having our own back as we attract in wealth and abundance, because you know how people are going to get, right? I mean, we know what's on offer. We know what's being shown about this topic out there. We know what's being celebrated and, shown off in all this consumption, right? I would think most of you, if you're listening to my channel, you want it so that you have freedom, right? We're going for freedom and alignment here. And we got the Ace of Cups. And this is a card that always reminds us how important it is to keep our cup full. Now, I say this in readings all the time when this card comes up, but I'd really ask you to, maybe even if you're watching the replay on this, pause or just take a moment here, take a breath to think about what keeps your cup full, and let it just come into you. Let it just come to you. Let it bubble up from your heart into your mind. One thing for me is I love taking Blaze on walks or going on walks with my family. That fills my cup. When I'm walking, I imagine that I am stepping on pinnacles. Pinnacles are connected to the earth energy in the tarot. Pinnacles are connected to financial abundance and wealth. And so I imagine golden pinnacles laying out before me. I'm stepping on each one. I'm absorbing that beautiful energy of my intentions as I walk. So I'm putting a walking practice into it, and that fills my cup. That keeps me aligned with my mission and my purpose. And I'm sure all of you have your own ways of what really does this. For some of you, it could be creative, more like you like to write, you journal, you tell a story, you paint, you do art of some kind, right? It fills your cup. So, so important to let it be okay to say, Emperor, you are going to take a seat now. And we appreciate your action and we appreciate all you're doing. But right now, we're going to step back. And even though we might be doing something active, it is filling our cup, right? So I'm walking, that's active, but it's filling my cup. It's not from my mind, it's from my embodiment of the action I'm taking. And that's what the message is here with this Ace of Cups here. How important it is. Like I say it all the time, so important to keep your cup full. you know, it's another thing to actually embody that and have some ways that you do that. Yes, I love the visualizing walking on the golden pinnacles, and you can make them silver, gold, plat. You can make them fun, make them however you feel you want to make them, right? But it's just like, yeah, and I'm just grounding that energy. I'm bringing it from the energetic into the earth and aligning that beautiful energy. We got the 9 of Wands here. Let me try to put a little bit closer. Okay, so we have fire energy coming up again. Fire energy, I feel like, came up a lot in some other readings I've been doing lately. It just keeps showing up, and it's transformation, is what it is. We're in a time of great transformation, personally and collectively. So, for those of you working on attracting wealth and abundance, there has to be some appropriate boundaries in place. Now, for some of you, I get, for some subpopulation, this is about checking your spending. What are you spending on? Like right now, y'all, if I were to show you and take you on a little tour, I'm not going to, but have you ever just gone through your stuff and you're like, why did I buy this? Why did I purchase this? Like maybe you're doing some clearing, or like me, you've had like 5 garage sales in the last couple years and you're like, "What why did I buy this?" Right? We have to have some boundaries around what we're bringing in to our space, to our home. Could those pinnacles, could those coins have been used for saving? Maybe they could be used for investing. Maybe they could be used for, a high yield savings and investing. Maybe I could have put a portion of that back, because now here I'm ending up with things. These aren't things I can take with me, right? And certainly we do need some things for our survival, but are we really checking our boundaries around our spending? That's coming up. You'll know if it's you. I know it's me. Okay. I know I hear this message. And for me to open up, fill my cup and have the capacity to call more in, I don't want to be a leaky sieve. I don't want it all to just leak back out, right? I want to be wise and making good decisions. I have children. Some of you might or might not, but you have things you want to invest in. Maybe you've wanted to travel. Maybe you want to create some generational stability for your family. Maybe you want to help your parents, right? And this would be the boundaries and protection. We're going to say, hey, no, this is a line I will no longer cross, right? So there's a bit of, I do feel a bit of like wanting and maybe needing to make a commitment to yourself about how you spend. And maybe the commitment is, let me just start writing down what I spend on, and let me write down how I'm feeling in the moment that I spend it. The other day, y'all, this is how it is for me. If I see a deal, I'm really attracted to deals. If I think I'm getting a deal, even though I'm probably not getting a deal, you know how they like to mark stuff up and then give you coupons and stuff? That really gets me. For my partner, he's really into the marketing and he likes new, fresh things, right? He gets into, he gets a little captured in the marketing. Love you, babe, if you're listening. But we all have our little ways. I thought the other day that I needed to go ahead and buy one of those salad spinners that you put the salad in and you wash it and you press the thing and it spins the water out and washes your lettuce. Y'all, for almost 50 years of my life, I've been washing my lettuce without a salad spinner. But like I spin a few minutes and then I'm like, what am I don't need this thing. I don't need this thing. I've been washing lettuce, okay? Now maybe it's handy, maybe it's nice if somebody gives me that at some point, wonderful, okay? But I don't need this right now. What's a better use of what resources I have? Okay, I don't need the salad spinner. So you insert whatever, you get drawn to, or you try to, and I had this little conversation with myself and I'm like, no, I do not, no, it's not something that I need. That's not the best investment of the resources I have, right? The marketing gets you to essence. Yeah, that happens to a lot of people, especially y'all. And I know you both got those Gemini energies, and Gemini likes to have fun. You don't want to be like limited. You want, oh, that's cool. I want to try that. And, there are marketing tactics that will really try to suck you in on that, but you also just have this fun spirit and you want to test things, you want to try things, it's new, it's fun, like, of course. But it's like a lot of what's being offered is maybe not what we need to invest in. Maybe, that pretty packaging on those Skittles candy. No, don't do it, right? No, I'm not saying you guys eat the Skittles. I'm just saying, that's and they do it with kids too. So it starts at a really young age, right? But yeah, that marketing will get us. And then the final clarifier here is the 4 of Wands. Now, here we have another 4. Look look at this. This means that for those of you showing up, whether live or on the replay here, stability, we're looking for stability in our freedom, right? We want that stable safety. Number 4, it's a stable card. It's creating something stable. And look here in this particular Wizard's Tarot, there is a magician here, a wizard, on the other side of the portal, and the student is looking through the portal because the wizard here, she's already created the stability. And I think this one has a lot to do with the way we're going to create stability is we're really going to get comfortable taking a moment. You're going to have to take time for this. So I'm going to go into lack of time in the next reading, right? But you have to take time with this to sit down and really say, okay, what does Stephanie look like when she has whatever she wants, right? In the bank account. Let's say I have my goal, whatever my goal is. Insert your number, insert your investment that investment you want to make, whatever it is, right? What does she look like? What does she look like? And what magic has she worked with her own self to create that safety and stability? So this student here, he's learning how to become stable, because remember, we got to be in partnership with ourselves. We got to have our own backs here. And it's not to say that we're alone in this, right? But as we have that partnership energy with ourselves, we naturally attract aligned partnerships outside of ourselves. And so that's what this student is learning here. He's learning from the master wizard of, yeah, this is how you do it. And first you have to have that vision. So the vision is important. It's important to spend some time with the vision. The vision can change over time, right? You might want to revisit your vision of where you want to be on the others, what you might consider the other side of things. Of course, it's just all on a big spiral of growth and a continuum. And that's also the thing about manifesting money and wealth that I see happening when people get it. Like, you might look and say, "Oh my gosh, that person's like, they're making a couple million a year. Wow." Like, I want to get there. I want to be there. But that person is looking at how to make tens of millions. So there's always more. Do you see how you can get sucked into that? So there's also this energy of really seeing how you are a master over your own finances, your own wealth, how you have boundaries, but also how you fill your cup and remain connected to your heart and your purpose, because this is a story that we're changing. This is a story that collectively we would like to change. We would like to obviously have less greed. We would want more people to feel safe and secure with their resources, right? There are people on the planet who still do not have clean drinking water. And we can argue about what's in my tap water over here. I don't trust it either. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But I'm talking about they're drinking out of swamps and rivers and getting sick, getting cancers, tumors, all kinds of bacterial infections, right? Because they literally, where they live, there's no well or place where they can get clean water. That's insane. That's literally insane, right? So we have to kind of say, okay, now certainly we can make donations to the places. We can donate our time and energy to those lovely causes where we're helping people, right? Um, Also, it's about envisioning the kind of future you want, not only for yourself, but for humanity, right? And where we want to get to the place where we recognize that there's plenty of resources. We don't need to be wasteful. The things we've been focusing on are not as important as they've been shown to us to be, right? And that we can make healthier, better decisions. If we make a decision to save our money and invest it in a savings account so that we can take a trip, and we go on that trip, who knows who we'll meet? Who knows whose life will impact? Who knows what we'll be able to do? you know and once you have the stability, how will that free up other areas of your life to do the things you want to do? I want to close off this reading on wealth and abundance, money and resources here with an oracle card from the Shaman's Dream Oracle here. Ooh, I love this. The Magician's Sword. And it says confidence is your magic. This is the number 37, which reduces to 10. Confidence is your magic. Yes, that confidence in partnership with yourself. We've got fire. This sword is on fire here, or lit up by flames. So we've got air and fire. For some of you, I feel like I'm getting something. For some of you, your word, your spoken word, your evocations are really, really powerful. And that's your magic, because swords are about communication. For some of you, it might be more subtle, but I am getting some of you need to hear that your word and you evoking and talking to people and explaining things and telling stories, expressing yourself is your magic. Some of you may be writers, you may put it into written form. Okay. Yeah, I feel like some people needed to hear that. So, confidence in your own magic. And on the lighter side of this emperor, he is confident. He's confident. All right, really cool energies coming up for money, resources. Interesting, very interesting topic. All right. Essence also said you're clearing out spiritual boxes, and boy, oh boy, I've said that so much. Like, what did I buy this for? Yeah. But it gives you the opportunity. You can gift, how many times have I gifted like crystals or spiritual items to other people? I found out like one of our neighbor boys is really into rocks and crystals, so we got that for his birthday. We gave him, some from our collection, and he loved them, and it's just like there's just ways that'll come up, and you can turn it, you're like, why did I do this? And you have that moment of, okay, note to self, I won't spend like that again, but I can still turn this into a gift. So there's lots of ways we can do that. Okay, we're going to go into lack of time. Okay, so those of you who always feel like crunch for time. And even now when you're tuning into this and you want to listen to it, you're probably like, "Oh, this is going on." I know because I've listened to things too, and I know. um that lack of time where we just feel like we can't get a moment. For pity's sake, give me a moment to catch my breath, to be with myself, to hear my inner voice, right? To really like show up in my own energy of valuing my time, right? And so yes, this is connected to decisions we make about how to spend our time. I know I really had this problem a lot when I was still in the corporate world, when I was working in the corporate world, and the 9 to 5. And some of you are in that, or you have, and it's like you do have to shift your focus and take your time because it's bringing you a resource, right? But also, this is about when you do have that free time. How do you choose to spend it? Are you watching Netflix? Are you playing video games? Or are you taking a walk? Are you doing some exercise? Are you just having some time with yourself just to journal and talk to yourself? How are you spending that time? And I'm not judging you. I mean, believe me, my partner and I, we have those moments where we chill out, we watch something. We call it smut. We watch our smut videos or smut shows, once in a while. And more often than not, we're like, "Ew, why did we watch that? That turned out to be not as good as we thought." No, most of the time I'm editing, I'm doing other stuff. I'm one of those people who has to like it's kind of becomes like a background noise. So, but yeah, what's on offer doesn't always really fulfill us, right? But we do need those moments where we just put our favorite movie on and have a bowl of ice cream or whatever, right? There will be those times. Okay, let's look at lack of time. So if you're dealing with lack of time, like, oh gosh, I just need more time. We've got some pretty nice looking energies here. Not that they won't take work and investment. The first thing that comes up is the Ace of Pentacles. So remember, for money, wealth, and abundance category, it was the cups, and more connected to our emotions and our purpose. For our lack of time, where we cannot catch that breath, we cannot catch that energy, it has to do with this Ace of Pentacles, which is presenting to us a new opportunity and opening a new pathway or gateway for us into rearranging our physical world. So this is an invitation. So with an ace, this is newer energy, and we don't want to pressure ourselves too hard, okay? Because you're already frustrated about not having enough time to do something that you love to do. So we want to just first and foremost accept the invitation that a new portal is opening, possibly for some of you that you can actually bend time. Okay. And this goes into a very deep philosophical conversation about the temporal realm and time, and there's a lot of directions we can take this. Um, this may be an invitation for you to also, for some of you, to actually reflect on what is time? What have I been taught time is? And let me try to back up a little bit higher out of that vantage point and look at time and see if I can do that. For those of you who've done the timeline work, I know Essence, you and I have done some of that, and probably the rest of you, might have dipped your toes in that, or you're reading about it or something. Um, when you go above time, I'll call it above, just to help with a perspective. It's like seeing the forest through the trees, right? So you can see a greater expanse. If you can take a little time to do that or get yourself in that space, it's great to help you really have a different vantage point. And it also is, you're literally moving your energy into another realm, right? And you are bending time. It's like when I had the experience that I talked about in the very beginning, and I had the scream, and then everything was different, like the timbre, the surroundings, everything for a moment was disorienting as I shifted timelines, right? If you're hearing this message, you're being invited to start working with this energy here of time. Okay. Now, the pinnacles are also investments. So this is really doing, getting real with yourself about what are you investing your time in, since we're talking about time as the resource here. Are there investments here that are aligned with where you want to be, what you want to do? And now keep in mind, we're not going to be too hard on ourselves here. I'm getting a lot of there's when I tune into the energies, I felt the need to feel like you have to push. And I want to back up from that. I want to back up because the highest and best messages here are around don't push this. Just find a little bit. Find one small thread in your life to pull here. Don't worry about the whole tapestry. We're going to find one small thread and we're going to travel on that thread, right? That thread may be, let me go above time a little bit. Let me have a little meditation with that. Maybe I'll create something like that. But there are modalities out there and things that kind of take you out of that space. Nature can really help if you can get out in nature even for like 10 minutes. Maybe just sitting down and having a conversation with a tree, honestly. Think about the time from a tree's perspective, right? And I mean, I love just sitting with nature. And when I say having conversation, I mean, you could talk to the tree if you want, but your neighbors or whoever might think you're a little nuts. But you could do whatever you want. You can, just sit and just connect with that tree and connect in with the roots and rise up through the tree's awareness and see how the tree experiences time, right? It can be such little things that we do here. Been watching too much TV. Yeah, I have a very low tolerance for TV. My partner will definitely attest to that. Like I could do without a TV, honestly, because it will suck up your time. But so will like social media and everything on your phone, right? Everything kind of, it can be a time sucker. And sometimes, though, it's valuable to invest your time. So it's just like, if you can shift. So maybe the 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes you were going to watch that episode of whatever, instead, maybe making the choice and following this invitation to go connect out in nature and invest your time being curious, right? We're not going to put a lot of pressure on ourselves here. Definitely for this group, if you're watching this one and you're resonating, don't pressure yourself with this. That to me, like, I feel like some of you are pressuring yourself. It's like you have these, like, how in like work environments, or if you ever worked on projects in the corporate world, they have all these deadlines and they're so unrealistic. And they're like, get everything done yesterday. Well, yesterday's already passed. Hello. And it's just the constant rat race, right? Because that is how we're shown how to be and interact. A lot of us have taken that pressure on ourselves. And so we feel that way with our own goals. right? And our own investments in ourselves. Let this be gentle. Do not get pressured. Let this be an invitation. This is not like the end of the road, it's the beginning. Let's just enjoy the journey here, right? We got the star energy. This is a glare. I like it over here better. We got, oop, I probably should cover her up. YouTube doesn't like that part. This is the star. She's very vulnerable, as you can see. This is connected to Aquarius energy. This is to really be present with your wishes around the kind of time freedom you want. This is daydreaming, this is imagination, this is experimentation, right? Following the invitation for the experimentation, right? So if it's only 10 minutes in the entire week that you can carve out, commit to those 10 minutes. And for those 10 minutes, you are going to work with time in the way that you want to. You are going to have your moments, right? So we have the beautiful star card here. We have the dreamer energy, the Aquarian energy. We have the invitation. We have the exploration and the experimentation. Play with it a little bit. And then we'll bring, every reading here has to have a little fire energy, apparently. We'll bring in this Six of Wands. We'll bring in this Six of Wands. Take note how you feel after you have even just your 10 minutes. If it's just your 10 minutes, it's just your 10 minutes. How do you feel? Where's your energy? Are you positioned better? Are you feeling better? After you've imagined, played, and experimented? Do you feel like you naturally have a new perspective, a higher vantage point for yourself? There's transformation involved in here with this being fire energy. And the Six of Wands is a celebratory energy. So maybe it's even closing off your 10 minutes with a little celebration of like, oh, that was cool. I'm so glad I had that 10 minutes to myself, or that 10 minutes on that walk, or that 10 minutes connecting with that tree, or that 10 minutes just to dream and imagine, right? It's often those innocent, childlike energies when we look at the youthful energy of the Aquarians, right? The dreamers, the lovers, the dreamers, right? As the Muppets sing that song, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. It's that kind of energy. And it, even as I say it, I get filled with like um warm fuzzies. It's like that warm fuzzy feeling that wants to come out. So when you're getting the warm fuzzy feeling from spending this time imagining, dreaming, playing, definitely maximize on that. Now I want to go into that dreaming a little bit more. I want to get us I want to talk about, okay, so we have this Aquarian energy here she is, and we have this playfulness, we have this imagination. We're going to commit to spending a little time, right? We're going to spend a little time, even we're going to take the invitation. We get into that and we begin to imagine and play. And I would like to understand more about that and how that benefits us, our dreaming, our vision. Okay. This is cool. Ooh, I love that. I can't wait to show you these cards. Ooh, this is cool. Okay, so as we take the invitation, as we explore working with our time differently, we're just starting small. Remember, we do not want to pressure ourselves. There's no deadline here. This is an invitation. It is not a requirement. It is not a deadline. This is not a competition. Okay, this is free energy. Aquarius likes to free flow. Okay, water bearer, freeing energies, flowing energies. We got resilience. So as we get in that dreamer energy and we imagine and we take the time for the daydreaming, take the time for the imagination and the connection, we accept this invitation, our resilience, the Nine of Leaders here, amplifies. Okay. And this is Nine of Wands. This is also connected to boundaries. And yes, all the other people who need you in your life aren't going to have you for that 10 minutes, right? Or whatever amount of physical time that you're allotting to your experience. But this is about you growing your resilience to the confines of time. And I get kind of as I'm tuning into this, I get kind of, it's like you're turning yourself inside out. As we turn ourselves inside out and we kind of bring that correspondence into the world, we're shifting the world, we're shifting the timelines. So do not underestimate your own energy, your own resilience. Also, it amplifies our strength, our courage. This is number 8 card, by the way, abundance, abundance of time. And the wolf is like howling, right? So something in this experience in playing with time and time freedom and having boundaries around your little bit of time that you're going to give yourself, that you're going to welcome in, you become more courageous to do what you need to do to get to your dreams. And for some of you, that's an entrepreneurship. Yep, we have this Page of Pentacles here. This time that you're going to dedicate to yourself, right? Whether it be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, daily, weekly, but making, and I would say making the commitment based on the invitation if you feel called. This is going to propel some of you into your next steps for creating your own business. It's going to open up time for you to do so. It's going to open up your focus on that, right? So there has to be this little experimentation and this little exploration of navigating and working with time differently. And just playing with it. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to be a quantum physicist to, but just play. And yes, it might be that you are going to spend some time reading a book about time, right? Okay, being an entrepreneur, yes. So for some of you, this is your goal here, and that you step into these energies of having these little experiences with the freedom of time is going to attract more in. It's setting you further along on the path. It's building your resilience, it's building your courage and your strength, and then you can execute on those things that the entrepreneur, and this card kind of fell under that 6 of Wands. You can take that active energy that moves your business forward. And Jen says, yes, I need to dedicate more time to your tie-dye creations. Yes, so Jen does beautiful ice tie-dye work, and she's Elemental Blends by Jen. Check her out, Elemental Blends by Jen. Check her out. She's on Etsy. She's on Instagram. Gave you a shameless plug there. I have some of her stuff. I'll have to wear one next time. Beautiful, beautiful ice dye creations. Yeah, because, when those of you that are artists, when you go into those spaces for yourself, when you go into those creative spaces and you are doing that, not only are you creating a product that you can sell, I get that, but you are bending time, because when you're in your creative mind, that overactive conscious part of the mind is quieted. And so, some people who create art will just, they get into this flow, right? They get into this flow state. And that is so much different, right, than this, and then this, and then this, and this meeting, that meeting, but, totally different energy. And that's one of the commitments I made to myself when I left the corporate world, that I would, invest in myself and stand by my own side and partner with myself in ways where I'll never have to put myself through that again, right? And put my soul through that kind of environment. And I know some of you are there, And at some point, I'm probably going to talk about how I exited the corporate world, because there's more than one way to get out of there, but you can. It all depends on your makeup and your journey and your situation and what's going on, right? Your astrology can play into a lot of things. But first and foremost, you just have to make the decision, right? And for creatives, being able to make a living doing your creations, doing what you love. We're really, a lot of what I heard growing up, and I'm sure you guys heard it too, you hear a starving artist, right? Let's call some bullshit on that, okay? Let's call some bullshit on the starving artist, okay? Art is beautiful, and how rare is it now where you actually get something that was made not in a factory, but came through someone's creative abilities. Like they spent time and energy in this flow state, creating this beautiful item, right? It's like hard to get nowadays, right? Big box stores don't have a lot of this. Where are like, let's support our creatives whenever we can. That's another reason that I want more money and resources, so I can support people in doing the art that they love to do, right? It's not just about me, it's about the collective, right? All right, we're going to get in here now. So that was time. Let's get in here now to, I'm getting used to this timestamp thing. Let's get into, okay, so if you've been dealing with lack in relationships, love, you're not feeling fulfilled in those areas, let's see what we can get. We're going to start off with Wizard's Tarot here on this one. So for those of you yearning for love, yearning for that relationship, or maybe it's just there's something in your current relationship that feels a bit off, or that it's not off, you would just like to improve upon it. Maybe it's just something you want to improve in your current relationship. Let's see what's been lacking and let's see what we can do about it here. Okay. So right off the bat, we get the Two of Swords here. And you can see that this young wizard here, and she's maybe training herself. It kind of reminds me of like when Obi-Wan Kenobi was teaching Luke Skywalker, and he's using his lightsaber to fight that remote, and he has to put the blinders on because Obi-Wan Kenobi wants him to reach out with the force more, with his energy, not just with using his eyes to see something and then trying to compute or analyze where the blast is going to land. He wants him to feel it. He wants him to be fully embodied and reach out his energy here. And here she is training with two birds. I feel this like a training card here. This is a training card. So when it comes to love and relationships, there are times where people's behavior or their treatment can be very confusing. We can feel very blinded by what we just heard or what we just saw or what they said or what they didn't do, right? And that can bring us a bit of imbalance, right? You can see she's leaning out in a lunge, but her knee is way over her toes there. And any of you have done yoga know you probably want a more balanced position, right? So she's learning, she's maybe misstepping. This can mean a misstep in communication. So some of you may feel blocked, and I do feel like a smaller group of you may feel, or larger group may feel a little blocked with how to communicate something to an existing partner. Like you want to express yourself in a certain way, but you're trying to find the right balance with how to do that. Some of you can be, you know what to say, but you're waiting too long to say it. You're waiting for like that perfect opportunity, and that perfect opportunity just doesn't come, right? Because when you're called or when you're moved to communicate something, that's usually the time to do it. And when we try to wait for what we think is the perfect situation or the perfect time to communicate to a partner, that's where we can end up building up resentment, and we've waited too long to say something. So she's training here and she's learning. So there's this aspect of us where when it comes to love and relationships, and feeling lack, we're learning, we're navigating our way. We don't always feel imbalanced with it. We may feel like there's a lot coming at us. But remember, for these two birds that are seemingly, we're going to say they're helping her train. It almost looks like they're trying to attack her, right? But she has two swords, right, to really work with those energies. And the bigger birds, they remind us of the connection of heaven and earth. They remind us of the value of how we feel when we want to share something. The value of how we feel and the insight we have is important. And even if it is messy, see how everything's like splashing and she's leaning a little too far forward. Maybe this is at night. We've got the little moon in the background. Even when things are messy and dark, I'm getting the message it's still very important for you to be communicating with your partner. If you're not with a partner, it's communicating with yourself about what you would like to manifest in a partner. What are the qualities? Where have you leaned into something before and it didn't work out too well? And how can you rebalance yourself before? Because you want to rebalance before you attract in that new person, or you're likely to attract in another imbalance kind of relationship, right? Bill Clinton, hello. Yeah, I'm Stephanie. Hello. Nice name, nice YouTube handle. Okay, so for those of you working on manifesting love and relationships, the outlook, at least if you're coming upon this reading right now, is looking pretty good. Okay, we got the Lover's card. So this is your focus. Now, in this card, I'm being called to the two colors that are showing up here. We've got the green of the heart chakra, right? And we've got the yellow of the solar plexus, almost like a yellow golden, right? And so this to me is calling that it's not only about matters of the heart, but how your heart is supported, specifically your emotional energies. And for those of you watching who are working on manifesting loving relationships, that could span romantic, friendship, and business. You just want more healthy, balanced relationships. The heart needs to be supported. Now, that comes first and foremost. If we look at this as a combination of energies within you, if we do not view this as two separate characters, but we view this as parts of you that come together, the solar plexus, this yellow golden energy, supports the heart. It's about your confidence, it's about your self esteem. And in order for you to turn on that heart light and really put yourself out there, in a beautiful, loving, attractive way to attract in your counterpart or the love that you're looking for, these energies have to be in balance. You have to be supporting your own heart in this. Now, if your heart is hurt, if you've had some pain or there's still triggers from past relationships, then this is a call to work that out. And look here, we have the actual work being done, being recognized by the pinnacle above the head. There's not cups here, there's not emotions, there's the actual work that we have to do in our bodies. Somatics might be helpful for those of you. If you've ever done any kind of somatic healing or even parts work, might be helpful for those of you trying to manifest love and relationships here. Okay. The energy of the yellow and green and how those work together. So the golden yellow energy supports the heart through our own relationship with our self-esteem, our self-confidence. Okay. The Justice card comes up here. This is Libra energy. So what I'm getting for this group is that you have a focus or have an intention to really have balance in your relationships. For there really to be the clear communication, which came up very strongly with that Two of Swords as being something that is needed, and to also make sure that both people are investing in a nice equal give and take. Now, it's never perfect. The scales are going to tip this way and that, right? When we're navigating relationships, sometimes a burden falls on one partner and then another at another time, or different burdens fall on both partners. But this is an energy that we're going to give ourselves grace. We're going to give our partners grace. And for those of you who are working on manifesting the next level of this is important energy for you to get within yourself. This is the number 11 card. So we do have that very aligned energy, the parallels, but also how the energies cross, which you can see in the X here with the sword and the wand. That's a sword and a wand. That's fire and air, right? So it's how we're communicating, and it's about our passion and how we're coming from our heart space. Now, for those of you who are really working on manifesting a partner, look how this is a table with an empty seat. Some of you need to come to this Libra gate, okay, when it comes to manifesting your ideal relationship or improving your current one. When I say come to the Libra gate, that means really take some time to work with the Libra energies within yourself, okay? There's this one thread I'm picking up in the energies where some people are carrying around unrealistic expectations about partnership and partners. Okay. This could have been from parents modeling something a certain way. It could have been from past pains and traumas. So we're going to need to get real comfortable coming to this Libra seat, this Libra gate, and figuring out what's out of balance within us so that we can attract in the proper healing and the proper energy for ourselves here. But this is auspicious in the sense that we have the 11, that's a master number. It brings in dynamic of partnership. It brings in the 2. They run parallel, right? But also there's times where those lines cross. And when those lines cross, we don't want to be applying unrealistic expectations, right? A lot of times expectations are a tricky thing. And I think that's coming up for this group. Boundaries, yes, are important. What your negotiable spaces are and what your non-negotiable spaces are, those are all very important, okay? That you want to uphold. You want to have your healthy boundaries. You never want to keep yourself in something destructive or toxic or abusive, right? But when it comes to elevating relationships, sometimes in our mind, we expect the other person to behave the way we would if we were in that situation. Okay. And that's not always the case. So there is this element of wanting to kind of check those expectations. Now, for this group, I want to go deeper into these Libra energies here with the Justice card. So let's see. So we know we're looking for more balance in relationships or more balanced relationships altogether. We know it starts with us. We know it starts with our confidence, our esteem, how we're supporting our own hearts. We know it starts with practice and training, and we've fallen before, we've made mistakes. Let's see what else this Justice card has to offer here that is beneficial. Highest and best messages, clarifying the Justice card. Oh, here it is. Yes. So 2 things. So remember, we've got the 11 and we have the 1 here and the 1 here. And I'm going to look at these 2 cards the same way. This time I didn't grab 3 cards. I was moved to draw 2. We've got the 9 of Hunters, freedom. This is the 9 of Pentacles energy. So what you're telling me is that freedom in relationships is important. There's not going to be a tolerance or an acceptance of codependent energies. So if some of you are tied up in that, and we all, it's kind of like a scale, and we all have these places where we might slip into a little bit of codependency at times. And what the intention here that's being brought forth from those of you who are attracted to this part of the reading, freedom. You want trust and freedom. You want your partner to trust you. You want the freedom to be trusted, right? The freedom to do what you're called to do, to walk the mountain path that you're meant to walk, right? And you want to be supported in your relationships with this freedom. So when we connect that back to the Libra energy, and we know we're coming from a place of balance or exploring balance, we know we also want freedom in that. We want freedom to trust and to be trusted, right? And that takes a healthy relationship. We also want to recognize that when we get a little too far in the zone of expectation, that we can fall into this judgment card. Okay. Now, there's a lot of things going on here. When our inner critic is really active and we're in a close connection with someone else, the tendency, and this is just a human thing, the tendency is that that person closest to you gets the projection of the criticism. All right. And so, as you are craving to manifest these partnerships and relationships that you want, love, romance, friendships, you've got to get real comfortable checking the inner critic here. The critic that's, first of all, judging yourself. And when you're in a place of judgment with yourself, you tend to then apply that energy into your relationships. And that's where expectations come from, and then those expectations then projected out onto a partner can really weigh down the relationship. Okay, so for those of you who are working on manifesting a relationship, this is going to be really important for you to consider, because you're in a unique position if you're not in the partnership that you want. If you're not in that ideal partnership that you want yet, then you're in a unique position to work on clearing some of these energies here. And we're going to pull a card to help us do that in a minute. But there's this inner critic that gets really busy and really loud in the mind, and then the judgments are projected into the relationship. So this is something to be worked on. If you're in a relationship and you find yourself happening, you're in these judgmental, resentful energies, there's something you haven't communicated that you need to get your balance, and you need to communicate that as soon as you can in the healthiest, most loving way that you can. Okay? But also, we're going to cherish the freedom that a healthy relationship will give us, because that definitely came up here with this Nine of Pentacles. You want to invest in relationships where you are trusted and you can trust, right? So that has to be there. All right. Let's close off this one with a card from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. All right. And then we're going to close off our Frequency Fridays for this week. So those of you who are still on, thank you so much for joining. I know some people are popping off and popping on and off, and it's okay. The replay will be up there, and I'm going to get these timestamps going for us. So it's going to be really good. But let's close off love and relationship manifestation. We got a number 25 card, and it says rest and renewal, and it says the Garden of Venus. And that's our love planet, right? That's our planet of love and romance. So, what a beautiful depiction here with all these blooming trees and flowers. And it looks like we have birds, a hummingbird, a heart, couple birds, a butterfly, maybe here. Really taking some time and going into your own garden of love and romance, really taking some time to nourish your own garden, to water your garden, to renew your garden, right? And as you do that, then it will strengthen your ability to come to that Libra gate and be better balanced in your communications and in what you want to manifest in relationships. Awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm wishing everyone an amazing week. I'll be here next Friday at 10 a.m. I am being mindful of time, but I didn't really set any specific timing on this. So usually I'll roll along for about an hour and a half, and we'll just go with what the collective would like to know. And thank you so much. Make sure you're subscribed, because if you're subscribed, you get to, interact in the comments and do all the good things. And I appreciate those of you who commented, whether live or on the replay. And just so much love to you all. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Take care, everyone.